Welcome, as we always love this time. It's Cooper Mays. And if you want to hear Cooper each and every week, hit that like and subscribe button as we'll go through the season, get some fantastic insight with one of the most important players in Tennessee's football team. It's Cooper Mays, Tennessee Center offensive lineman, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. City Heat and Air, City Heating and Air Conditioning. You're back at practice, Coop. What do you think, my man?
Man, I'm pretty sore right now, but it's good to be back. There's a lot of working parts that we got to work through and figure a lot of stuff out. So it's been really good.
There is going to be soreness. It is hard work. I've seen what you guys have done before, but it is still a game too. So is there still that part of you, that kid part, that says this is pretty fun?
Oh yeah, I mean it's always fun. It's kind of it's different than it used to be. Um, it's just a lot. It's the perspective on the sport's different when you're younger and when you're older, but it's still fun and we're still playing a kid's game.
Can I ask how the perspective is a little bit different, not to get too sidetracked?
I mean, obviously everybody's perspective is different, but playing at Tennessee and being a center where we are with the way we run our offense and everything, there's a lot of pressure on you, and there's just a lot of stuff that needs to get done, and you know, a lot of different variables. When you're young, you're kind of just going out there and you just want to make a tackle and celebrate and or people I guess want to score touchdowns and stuff. I never got to do that, but all that. But when you got certain stuff you're trying to get better at, and there's a lot of competition and there's pressure out there. It's a different ball game, but it's a lot more rewarding. There's a lot of self worth that comes from being really intentional every day and seeing the fruit of your labor being produced.
No, I thought that's a really good way of putting it. And with the way you've grown yourself as a player, I can't imagine how much different you feel as opposed to when you're battling for playing time. I mean, how often do you have to get held out, or do they hold you out because you're a proven player? And how do you like that? I know some guys hate being held out because they're a proven player.
Um, Man, I wouldn't say I hate it. I mean, those guys probably don't play O line. Is probably what I'd say.
It's true.
Those guys probably play like wide receiver or something. Where they can just run and really put their flair and art into the game. But I appreciate a rep or two off maybe. I mean honestly, I've played thousands and thousands of snaps of football while I've been at Tennessee. So like I understand how to hit people. You know, it's just for me. I feel like at this point in my career, like just doing enough to keep my body active and my technique on point while at the same time lightening the load as much as possible to keep me fresh and healthy as possible. It's a process. It's hard.
I would imagine the communication's key too, because when you get there, they're just going to tell you what to do, what to eat, how much to practice, right? And now there's a give and take, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably like any other line of work, but I mean, especially in our line of work, if you're consistent and you know what you're doing and you prove to the coaches that you know what you're doing and like I said, you're consistent with it, do it every day, and you prove to them that you're that type of guy day in and day out. I mean, you obviously get a lot more leeway. I mean, and I'm the same guy I was a freshman. I was, I didn't miss stuff. I didn't do anything crazy, but at the same time, you're just a freshman and you're unproven. So I had to take all the reps. I had to take all the reps. I was always, making sure they were always making sure I was on weight. They were always on my butt about doing stuff. And nowadays, I mean, if somebody's been doing something for 5 years at a high rate, then at a certain point you kind of stop micromanaging them because there's 124 other people that aren't in that position. You know what I'm saying? I
Hmm.
mean, you're always trying to find the next guy. So I mean, if you've got a guy that knows what he's doing and doesn't really need as much, TLC and attention, then go ahead and put that extra that you aren't giving over here. Go ahead and put that extra into the backup. Get him as ready as possible, cultivate him, and help him grow. So I mean, there's always there. Not saying that I'm perfect or anything. There's not any room for improvement. Like, I still go out there and practice with the guys. I still do all the stuff. Like, it's not like I do anything different. I probably just do a little bit less, which is
No.
good. Because when I was a freshman, I'm telling you right now, I took the ones and twos, while I wasn't starting. While I wasn't starting, I was taking, all the reps. But I tell you right now, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I hated it in the moment. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I was literally getting done with one rack of 6 plays, and then I had to have like a water girl personally run up to me and give me water while I was transferring to go do the next 6 plays with the other group. It's and stuff like that builds character, man. I mean, and also, like, you just need the reps when you're young. You always think you know what you got going on, and you kind of just realize that there's a lot to learn. You just didn't really realize it yet,
Did,
which is probably going to happen to me in the next year or so. I'm probably gonna be like, damn, I didn't know anything. But you know,
just
you know
drop.
how it goes.
Yeah,
It's
it
always
happens.
about perspective.
Yeah, it happens to you when you're 52. But do you? Were you in that position? Take me back, because you were trying to fill so many gaps in the roster, or why did they ask so much out of you that early?
Well, I think the coaching staff, I think Pruitt and staff knew I was probably going to be groomed to be the center the next year. I think that was their plan. And it was kind of their plan at the end of the year, too. I got a few starts at the end of the year. I played blocking tight end for most of the year, but I always would play center in practice. I would play center in practice, and then on game day, they would teach me. Well, during the week, I would also learn the tight end package, and I would learn the center stuff, so I could get most of the reps at center and take the reps for Brandon Kennedy. Brandon Kennedy was a guy that was kind of like me. He's like 6 years in, 5 years in, whatever. Knew what he was doing and understood the game of football. Didn't need to hit people to prove it. So throw Coop in there. He doesn't know how to play football yet. He needs to learn how to hit people. Like, that's a perfect opportunity. Let's take the load off Brandon, and let's let Coop learn and get double the amount of reps, and he'll speed
Yeah,
up double as fast. And when you're 18, man, your body feels good. Like, I thought I was hurting. No, sir. Your body recovers quick when you're 18, man. I'm telling you right now. I mean, youth is crazy. Youth is crazy.
yeah. Wait, well, just wait. Okay, so
No.
could you slot out there and play tight end if you needed to?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I've told the tight ends they're lucky I don't drop down to 230 and get out there. Honestly, I don't know how great I'd be in the passing stuff. Like, I'd figure it out. I know I can figure out anything, but I know for a fact I'd be out there mauling people in the run game. I was really good, honestly. The If y'all remember, which people probably don't really that much, but we had a good season going up until like the third game. Like, we were 2-0, and we were doing really well in 2020. A big reason of that, if you go back and watch the second game, go watch Mizzou is who we played. We got in like a big personnel the whole time, where it was the O line, and then the two big tight ends were me and Riley Locklear, and we just went out there and just kind of messed around in a big package for a good majority of the game, and ended up running for like 300 or 400 or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can't imagine you lining up at tight end across from a defensive end. I'm like, this is not going to be any fun whatsoever. You guys held your first scrimmage of this season. Um, Typically, what does a first scrimmage look like, and what did you think of this one?
Um, Usually it looks like not as clean as you like it to be. It's the first time for a lot of new guys to implement a new system, so it's going to be naturally a little bit lacking in terms of you know just assignment soundness, just getting the feel for things. It's a huge opportunity to get your feet wet and test out what you've been working to. But at the end of the day, it's the first time doing it for a lot of people. The first time for this group doing it together specifically. So it's usually, as far as offense is what I'm saying. So it's usually not your best performance, but it's super necessary, and a lot to learn from comes out of that first time usually.
I would imagine early, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but early in camp two would be one of the times they would kind of take it easy on you. Some of the early scrimmages. Am I right about that or wrong?
Um,
I mean,
I got a good bit yesterday. I got a good bit going.
gotcha. Okay. When you're not in there, has it been Bison? And I've kind of been curious as to his development. I've asked you about it every few months or so. What would have been your thoughts on Bison?
Yeah, Bison's gotten better throughout the first little bit of camp. He's doing better. We've also got a new young guy, William Satterwhite, who's also working at the center spot. He's done a really good job as well, especially for being a young guy. Like reminds me a lot of me, and they've been doing a good job.
Well, let me ask you more about that. That's good stuff. William Satterwhite, how does he remind Cooper Mays of Cooper Mays? That's pretty neat.
He's athletic, undersized a little bit, you know, about as tall as me, maybe a little bit shorter, and you know, kind of about the same size I was weight wise when I was young. But just out there scrapping, athletic guy, like gets hands on and just tries to stick on them and last. And you know, I think he's doing a really good job. So I think it's good to shout him out.
Yeah, freshman out of Ohio, and that's the second time I've heard his name already in a week deep into camp. That's pretty impressive of a freshman. What are some commonalities among the interior offensive linemen that have success in this system? I mean, is it toughness? Is it good feet? Is it good hands? What are some things that make for a good interior offensive lineman in this system?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's really about just this system, but really what it takes to be a good interior O lineman, kind of in general, in my opinion, especially in the league that we play in the SEC, you gotta be twitchy, which is the first thing that I would look for. Twitchy, which for people that probably, I mean, it's like fast twitch muscle fibers. Like you got to be able to like do things very quickly. Like you can't be slow off the ball. You got to be able to get off the ball really quick and beat somebody to the punch. I think you got to have decently long arms. Obviously, the size is something. You know, you got to be a certain threshold of size, and then after that, man, you got to be able to bend. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, it's I could talk all day about a lot of stuff, but you got to be able to bend, you got to be athletic, and you got to be powerful. That's probably the three things that I would say. And you know, the knowing your job and assignment is kind of a given. But
I wanted to ask you one other question about conditioning. So, are there levels of conditioning? Is there off-season conditioning where you're like, "Yeah, man, I got pretty good wind here," and then there's camp conditioning where you're like, "I got another level," and then when the adrenaline is pumping during a game, is there another level that you have to reach in terms of conditioning to handle the offense that you run?
yeah, for sure. There's differences to all of it. Like, I mean, there's nothing that will like get you truly in game shape. Honestly, like everybody talks about being like working in the off season to get in shape for playing shape. Maybe in different offenses, like with the slower paced offenses, like yeah, that definitely has validity. Like you can run as much as you want with our offense. Like nothing will, no, like just plain running will get you ready to play in our offense. I mean, maybe for an O lineman, like if you like set up some sleds like temperamentally throughout the field, and you just like ran it for like 10 yards, and then like you like ran over and got set, and like it would be a real task to try to replicate what we do. Like it has to be done with like sled work and stuff like that, in my opinion.
Well, our friends at City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. They'll take care of you. Cooper's run through the sleds in the off season, and now it's time for preseason camp. We love that first update after scrimmage number one. We love talking to Coop. It's fun. It puts a little pep in my step. I wonder, does it put a little pep in your step that football season's almost here?
Oh yeah, huge peppiness in the step nowadays.
Nice. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. This is a presentation of Off Dog Sports.